promised you answers. We said if there's anything that you're confused about, we will clarify it here today on the Super Morning Show. That's exactly what we're going to do. We're joined by the Deputy Finance Minister, Dr. John Kumah. What a pleasure. Always nice to see you.
Yes, it's a pleasure to see you and Winston and listen to you every morning.
Oh, thank you for coming.
Soaking all the pressures and praying that there will be answers soon.
That's all we all want. Some answers.
Thank God we have some clarity now so we can engage more.
Fantastic. We're looking forward to it. Listen, let's get into it. The Deputy Finance Minister, Dr. John Kumah, is here. Now, this conversation started yesterday following the release of a statement by government on the way forward. And the statement is here. I just wanted to touch on a couple of the details here before we zoom into our conversation. So the heading was Update on Ghana's Domestic Debt Exchange Program. It was released yesterday. And it said, among other things, an affirmation that all individual bondholders are free not to participate. However, upon a successful DDEP, there will be very few of the old bonds in circulation and likely limit its tradability. In this regard, government is pleased to make available the following alternative offer to encourage all individual bondholders to participate in the exchange. And then it goes into some offers for bondholders below the age of 59, retirees, and so forth. All the detail that we will be getting into in our conversation. But the conversation, like I said, started yesterday. Last night on PM Express, we heard from Professor Godfred Bokpin. We heard from Senior Hossi and Martin Kwebu, as well as pensioner bondholders who were represented by Dr. Edu Anani Inchi. And we also heard from those who are now exempt, the Chamber of Corporate Trustees, Ghana. Summary of what they all had to say.
Let me take this opportunity and then communicate to all pension fund schemes that the exemption as per the MOU on 22nd December holds. No pension fund schemes will participate in the domestic debt exchange program as has been proposed by the government and as has been agreed with the various financial sectors. So pension fund is exempted. We are not participating in the domestic exchange program. What we are trying to do is to find a solution with government so that our bonds will still remain liquid and will still remain tradable.
And I'm sure the story will be told one day of how regulators teamed up with politicians over champagne and messed up Ghana's financial sector. And I feel sorry for the role that regulators have played in coercing, essentially, these participating financial institutions. Why are we concerned? Building institutions that should act as checks and balances. The regulators are there to protect the sector they regulate. It is this kind of attitude and posture, so accommodating to our fiscal slippages, that has brought us here, and is the reason why, with all the knowledge and the technical insight of the people at Bank of Ghana, monetary policy is being pursued as subordinate to fiscal policy rather than it being complementary. I will also join in asking individual bondholders not to sign up. I am not against the state. I am not anti-republic, but I believe that there is considerable room where we can look at this triangle in a way that doesn't overburden one aspect of the triangle. And that would also not be sustainable. You can apply all the haircuts on creditors today. The next time your hair grows, the politicians will come back again. You have a barber in town who says that everybody else must have a haircut.
Apart from himself.
Apart from himself.
Do not fret. You've actually been given the best message you could wish for. Those who can't sleep, it's time to sleep. Take a glass of wine and sleep well. Dream any dream you want to dream. On Thursday, we'll come and give you more information. Till then, don't waste your time worrying yourself about sign or not sign. There's nothing to sign. There's nothing on the table to sign. On Thursday, when it comes, we'll run the analysis and we'll give you the advice. Okay. But always remember that what you have been offered right now is an option clearly, unequivocal, for you not to sign. And nothing would happen to you.
Okay.
If it's exemption you want to hear, now you are being told you can self-exempt as an individual. There's a reason why the minister did not say banks.
We are still holding consultations. Maybe this is a sense I'm getting.
since at the end of the program, we can also get a letter that says exempt. Why not? There's no harm in pursuing it. Though, as we are aware now, practically now we are exempt. But if there is a possibility to get a paper that uses the word exempt, I think there's no harm in pursuing it. But it's good that the finance minister granted an interview where he reiterated that the existing bonds will be annexed. That's it. That's the exemption practically. And I think that's what Senior and I have been saying over and over. But if the word exemption brings extra comfort, why not? We can pursue it.
So we will continue with our engagements. And then when it comes to the time that we have to physically also go to the ministry to press home our demand, we have already informed the police that from Monday on the 6th, if we haven't had any positive feedback, we'll be converging at the ministry, the old ladies and the old men, and they will go there with their wheelchairs, sit there for about 1 hour. And we are going to continue to do that every day, the working day, until our exemption is granted. So we have a plan.
So that's how it all unfolded last night on PM Express. So questions. Churchill, you want to start?
Yes, so we're joined by the Deputy Finance Minister, Dr. John Kumah. Thank you once again for joining us.
Thank you.
So have individual bondholders been exempted from the program?
Okay, so let me start by thanking all stakeholders. We have come far. We didn't start at this level of engagement, and I think by the grace of God and by the understanding of all stakeholders, the need to preserve our country in difficult times, we have all made movements that gradually is giving good shape to the domestic debt exchange. So the issue of the individual bondholders, initially they were excluded from the whole domestic debt exchange program. But going forward, we realize that we are replacing all the old bonds with new ones. And so you created a risk for those who were holding the old bonds, in the sense that if they have to, an individual bondholder has a liquidity challenge and he wants to trade off his bond, he needed a market to trade in. And because you have transitioned all the old bonds to the new ones, he's virtually going to get maybe 10% of the value of his bond. So for instance, let's say I have a bond of 1 million Ghana cedis as an individual bondholder. If we finally transition to the new bonds, there will be no market, especially in the secondary market for me, in case I have a liquidity challenge. I cannot trade that 1 million cedis that I have for immediate liquidity. And that may cause me to receive maybe just 100,000 out of the 1 million. And so we realize that by default of the new arrangement, you are disadvantaging the individual bondholders. So let's give them an option. Now the option is that individual bondholders can still choose to exempt or choose to stay out. But in their own interest of future liquidity challenge, we are encouraging them to also take a new bond that we are issuing specifically for the individual bondholders, which we said 59 years and below, you're going to get 10% coupons. It's no longer zero, as we announced earlier. It's gone to 10% per annum, and then maturity from 15 years is reduced to 5 years. So clearly, this offers a huge opportunity for individual bondholders to now come on board. And those above 59 years too, they will have coupon rate of 15% and maturity reduced to 5 years. The advantage, even though it's voluntary, the advantage for taking these new bonds is that in case of future liquidity challenge, you are still able to trade your new bonds and get the value of your bond. Rather than, so let me advise those who want to just hold to the old bond, if that is what they prefer. is that you have to hold on till end of maturity. So if your bond will end in 2027, please, no matter your situation, don't try to sell it.
Why shouldn't you try to sell it?
Because there will be no market for the old bonds. We are transitioning all the bonds to the new ones.
So the pension funds have been exempted from the domestic debt exchange program. Will there be a market for them?
So we will deal with the pension funds. I'll come to the corporate exemptions that we are talking about. The individual pensioners, I mean, I think that they are above the 60 years. So obviously they will fall within the individual bondholders who are above 60 years.
Yeah.
They are being offered 15% coupon per annum and then 5 years of maturity, not 15 years. Now, I also encourage them to also join the new bonds market, because if you don't join the new market and there is no available options of trade for your old bonds, you just disadvantage yourself unnecessarily, because every investor sometimes want to leave the market, and you should be given the option to maintain the value of your investment if you want to leave. And that is why we are advising individual bondholders. Now, the corporate exemptions that we spoke about. You know, government initially announced that we were including pension funds and all the corporate institutions. Of course, there has been a lot of dialogue and engagement with workers and unions, and the agreement was that we should take them out and agree on a different arrangement. That has been done. I think on 22nd, government signed an MOU with them where we agreed to exempt them from the announcement we made earlier.
Sure.
But as we speak, there has been engagement on what are the possible options that can be created for them. So in the end, we are also going to create a new bond system for those ones with their consent.
Would it come with different coupons to what they currently have?
It's not been concluded yet, so I don't want to go into details.
So there's a possibility that
it can be maintained. The same coupon may be maintained. It can be reduced, depending on the arrangement. But whatever I'm saying is that they are still being engaged on details.
Okay.
So let's not go there.
Yeah, but while we don't want to go into the details, let me just get some clarification.
Okay.
These persons have been communicated to an MOU signed. You are exempted from the domestic debt exchange.
As announced. And then we both agree to engage on the way forward.
But when you said they have been exempted from it as announced, the understanding you get is we are not part of it.
Oh, that's your understanding.
Per the terms you announced?
The earlier announcement, yes.
You're suggesting to us that they could be included with different terms.
Yes, as we are engaging, because that's the essence of the engagement. So government made an announcement which they didn't agree, which we also accepted because there was not enough engagement. Then they came on the table and said, we have ideas on how we can handle it. Government says, okay, I've taken you out, let's engage. So let's wait for the outcome of that engagement. And I can tell you, it will be a win-win for both sides. At the end of the day, we are all seeking to build a system that preserves our investments and also give government capacity to honor these coupons.
You talked about wanting about 80% signing onto the domestic debt exchange program.
Yes.
What percentage are signed currently?
Well, with all the consent and agreements that we're having, we should be between 80 to 90.
So why do you still want to add others when you needed 80? You have 80 now. Individual bondholders are saying, well, we have a problem.
Yes, we don't have a difficulty.
The pension funds, which you exempted, for instance, minus the pension funds, you have between 80 to 90. Why do you want to engage them again?
So that is the problem you create on the market. If you have 90% of the market trading in new bonds, and you are holding on to 10% of the market in old bonds, you have significantly reduced the value of your bonds by 90% in terms of tradability and market.
Well, there's certainty of payment. And so if there's certainty of payment, for instance, I know that I hold these bonds, which, I just check the maturity periods of all these bonds. So, a lot of them will be maturing even in 2023.
Yeah.
If I decide, for instance, to trade those bonds on the secondary market, if I go in and I say, I want to sell these bonds, you know at least that by June you get a coupon rate of, say, 10% because you're paying twice in a year. And if it's 20%, for instance, you know in June you're going to be paid 10% till the maturity in, say, September, where you'll be paid the principal. That's not a bad bond.
Yeah, Winston, I'm saying that if you are an individual bondholder and you have the patience to wait to your date of maturity, your argument holds. But if you face a challenge, whilst we have transitioned all the bonds into a new bond market, you are going to trade in a very limited market that, it's all about demand and supply.
Sure.
And that's how market values are determined. So if you choose not to be part of the new market, but you want to stay in the old 10% market, you have virtually reduced. Yeah, you are giving the supply, but there's no demand.
But on the contrary, my argument is that if I have a bond whose coupon rate is higher than the new ones, that is better value than the new ones that are being offered. So if I offer you these old bonds with better value, any investor would consider that more than the new ones with less value.
But you see, there's a problem when you talk about certainty of the old bonds. Government has openly and clearly expressed its difficulty in honoring the old bonds as it is. And everybody is aware of that. So we are not in normal times where you are sure that all your coupons are going to come unless something happens. And we must all be part of the process that creates the sustainability and capacity for government. So if you say that you will not do it, others should do it to create the capacity so that you have certainty for your returns, then you are not helping the process. So let's all be part of the process.
So you cannot assure us
government has
maturing...
announced that.
Hold on, we cannot assure... I just want a clarification. You cannot assure that, because if you say you are free not to sign, and you're now saying, let's note that we are in difficult times, it means these individual bondholders cannot get the full assurance that their maturing bonds will be paid at the due time.
Well, I think the finance minister answered that question. And he said that he will keep to the terms of the old bonds. He's, however, encouraging them that if you hold on to the old bonds, you do so at your own peril in terms of liquidity challenge and tradability. And that's where I also want to stick to. Government has announced that the bond market as it is right now, we have difficulty in terms of meeting our debt obligations. And we must all be seen to be contributing to preserve the market. Individual bondholders have been given the option. Please, you can stay out and keep to your old bonds. The government has promised to honor the bonds as and when they are due. But we encourage them to be part of the new bond market so that we can all create a more vibrant bond market.
All right, if you just joined us, it's 8:29. We're talking to Dr. John Kumah. He's the Deputy Finance Minister, as you know. And we're getting clarity on the position of every stakeholder when it comes to the domestic debt exchange program. Winston has covered a lot of ground with Dr. Kumah. I want to do something because I've realized that as Winston keeps asking the questions and you keep providing the explanations, people are still coming back to ask, so is this the case? So is that the case? So I would like to do a simple thing with you, if it's possible. I'm going to ask the question in such a way that you can give me a yes or no answer. Let's see if that is more helpful.
That is, if there is a yes or no answer for it.
If there isn't,
sometimes you don't have a definite yes or no.
I'll do my best to ask the question in as plain a way as possible.
Okay.
Let's start with the individual bondholders.
Okay.
You have made it clear in the statement yesterday that they are free to not join.
Yeah, it's optional.
So if an individual bondholder chooses not to join, on maturity, will you pay them?
Yes, that we have stated.
So that's a yes.
Yes.
Okay. So for as long as they hold that bond between now and maturity, they are holding a bond that will be paid on maturity.
Oh, yes.
Okay. Does that not make their bond more valuable?
No.
Than the exchanged one, which will not be paid for a number of years, and even then it will be only a certain percentage
No.
will be paid.
So this one maybe is when you talk to the finance experts that will tell you that the fact that your bond will be paid at maturity doesn't mean that today the current value of the bond is X amount or Y amount. And this is where we thought in the end it was advisable to rope in the individual bondholders for their own good. Because once you carve out 90% of the market and you ask me to hold into the 10%, you have virtually reduced the value of my bond unless I hold on to maturity. So here we are looking at the advantage for individual bondholders in the secondary market in case of liquidity challenge. And that is what I continue to encourage them. Some of these things, they should talk to their bankers and people with technical financial advice to guide them. It's not about emotions. And as government, we have given them our word that as and when it falls due, if you can hold to maturity, you're going to get the value. But in between, if you attempt to trade off, you are losing about 90% of your value, which is not advisable.
All right.
So
we're getting clearer now.
Okay.
So for an individual bondholder who chooses not to opt in, they will be paid on maturity.
On maturity, yes.
For a pension fund bondholder or a corporate bondholder who is now currently exempt.
Exempt and engaging.
But currently exempt.
Yes, but engaging. So
If-
add that because we are still talking to them.
Which is fair. So if a corporate bondholder, for example, currently exempt and engaging, if their bond matures, they will also be paid.
It's part of the engagement. I don't want to be definite on things that we haven't concluded.
Okay. So that means if you are exempt, there is not yet a guarantee that your bond will be paid on maturity.
No. When you are exempt and engaging, you see, let's deal with the concluded engagements. That one I can speak to the banks, the insurance, the securities and exchange, and individuals. These are concluded ones.
So,
but the other ones to do with the unions, we are still engaged. There are options on the table, but there are no conclusions. So I don't want to be definite.
Okay, that's getting clearer for
Yeah.
me. So for the individual bondholders, they are the only group right now that will be sure to get payment on maturity for their bonds.
Yes, the individual bondholders.
Yes, they are the only
on
group
maturity.
right now. The corporate bondholders, all of those who have been exempted, are still being engaged.
Yes.
And it is not yet clear what will happen on maturity.
We'll decide it together with them. We are still engaged. Let's wait till come. The decisions will come. That's why earlier on interviews have not been on it because you didn't know what to say. So let's wait.
I understand
till
that.
we get
But
the
are they those you have exempted?
Yes.
Are they aware that their fate is not yet
Yes, they are aware. They
determined?
made that proposal, and the trade unions and all the unions in Ghana, we sat down together to say we don't accept it as announced, but here is what we think is acceptable. Let's work together on that, and that since has been ongoing, and I believe there will be conclusions soon.
So, as it stands, they are being engaged until a conclusion. You will not come out with a new terms.
No, not.
You've promised us tomorrow.
Tomorrow to
2nd February.
you mean the new terms?
Yes.
Yes, I believe by that time the amended memorandum will be out, and then we can have conclusions on the way forward.
And by that time, you'd have engaged with the pension.
I believe so. It's ongoing. I believe
it's
so.
ongoing.
Yes, and we have also extended to 7th February, so that also gives some time. At the end of the day, we are not in a hurry to get it wrong. It is better to be patient and have an agreement that all parties consent to and deliver a stronger economy for our country than to be in a hurry to create things that are unacceptable.
Let's look at, the tradability bit that you've been talking about.
All right.
So, I mean, if I am an investor, and let's bring it down, you and me. Let's just bring it down so we can all have this argument. I'm an investor, and I decide to buy bonds on the secondary market, for instance. And somebody holds a bond expected to mature in, say, 2028, because some of the bonds would mature around that time. Now, he has a coupon rate of 20%.
Yeah.
So I would look at all my figures from now to 2028 discount it and say, this is what I want to offer to you, I certainly wouldn't offer that person 10% of his current value. Of course, after we factored in inflation and everything, I won't factor him. I won't offer him 10% of his current value. He would also not accept 10% of his current value. In fact, as it stands now, with the current, exchange program, there is still some level of uncertainty going forward, and I'm sure that's why government says they're going to come back again, because the one that I saw, government could actually make some changes also. So doesn't that in itself tell you that the individual bondholders who are free not to sign, if they refuse to sign, have values that could be worth more than what will be held by institutional bondholders? Doesn't that tell you?
No. Okay, so look at it this way. We have what we call the mark-to-market value. Which,
exactly.
Is the instant value of the bond you are holding.
Yeah.
So even though you may have a coupon of, say, 20%, today, if you decide to trade on the market, the mark-to-market value of your investment of, let's say, 100,000, you may get 40,000. Instead of 100,000, you may get 40% of the value of that 100,000.
That's subject to the dynamics of the economy.
Oh, and that is where we are. Okay. And that is why if the market improves, and the market will improve when you're on the new market, not the old one.
Hold on a second.
Okay.
The market improves.
Yeah, the new bond market, when we do the transition.
The bond market improves.
Yeah.
Also when there's an improvement in the economy.
Exactly. And I'm saying that.
So an improvement in the economy would affect both old and new bonds.
No, that's where the challenge is. That's why I'm saying people need to talk to their finance experts to guide them, because it will be back to the basic principle of demand and supply.
Sure.
And once you transition about 90% of your bond market to a new bond market, those left in that old bond market have less demand, and it's going to affect the value of their bonds. And so it is in your own interest to be part of the new bigger market where there's liquidity and tradability. Otherwise, you are going to lose almost up to 90% of the value of your bonds if you decide to trade before maturity.
How do you come at that 90%?
Because it's market determination.
And market determination affects everything.
That's why I'm saying that experts have sat down, looked at all these scenarios, and have advised that let's give option to individual bondholders so that tomorrow they don't come back blaming government that you should have told us that you are exempting us not to lose the value of our money, but you are exempting us to sit to maturity. So
Mr.
we
Kumah,
don't have any difficulty. Individuals can wait if they want to maturity, but we advise and encourage them.
Mr. Kumah, please allow me. This is a sort of a layman question here. Okay. So let's say you move 90% of bondholders onto the new bond. 10% remain with the old bond. If at any time any of that 10% wants to sell their bond, what exactly limits the market? What
demand.
That brings me back to my point. If I'm holding a bond that has guaranteed payments at maturity, what would make my demand less than the 90% whose payment at maturity is 10% or in some cases 0% for the first year?
Okay, so the market operates with information. And every investor who now has to decide whether to invest in the new bond market or the old bond market understands that there is high risk premium on the old market, on the old bonds.
What creates the risk?
Because government has announced inability to honor those bonds.
But you said you will.
Yes, we will when we are able to create that capacity with the new ones. Okay.
So it's not guaranteed.
Oh, it's guaranteed. Once we have promised, we have to deliver. But we are able to give. I'm coming. We are able to give that assurance because others are willing to come to the new market. But if everybody says we are staying in the old market, we can't honor it.
But you say about 80 to 90%.
You said you've already
I'm saying by our calculations. Yeah. By our calculations, if you get all the banks, the corporate holders.
And they exempt the corporate holders?
No,
No, that's the pension.
Forgive me.
They are not exempt. And all of them, when you put them together, we will be between 80, plus the individual bondholders, will be between 80 to 90%. And I'm saying that if we are able to have that done, then it creates capacity for us to take care of the few left, maybe the 10% left, to honor them. But it's because we have created capacity with a bigger group who sacrificed. And so we are encouraging everybody. Let's all be part of a system that lifts each other up. Then you say you won't do it, but others should do it, so that when your own is due, it is honored.
Right.
It creates some injustice.
Okay, let's bring in Senor Hossi. He's the convener of the Individual Bondholders Forum. He's on the phone. We also have Angel Carbon, who is the president of NAGRAT, also seeking some clarity. Good morning to you, gentlemen. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, good morning.
All right. Senor, if you can hear me, I'd like to start with you because it would appear that we've got a certain confirmation of at least a part of what you were saying last night. Your members, their bonds will be paid on maturity. But are you still going to advise them to sleep, dream, and drink wine? Now that the Deputy Finance Minister is saying that if they decide to liquidate between now and maturity, they will lose 90% of the value of their bonds?
Okay. Thank you. Kojo.
Yes.
I find my good friend's submission very unprofessional, inappropriate, and absolutely misleading. I'm coming to this conversation not as an ignoramus. I am MD of Legacy Bonds. We used to be one of the single largest subscribers to government structured papers, over $1 billion. I own a fund management company. I'm an economic policy analyst. I've managed structured trades across Africa. I know what I say when I say them. This submission is inaccurate and close to being referred to as dishonest. We are all willing to work with government, support it, achieve it. But one thing I can't stand is bullying. Trying to share, to disseminate fear where there is none, doubt where there is none to your citizenry is inappropriate. John Kumah, please stop it. It is not true that you are losing 90% of your value. Is it right that if government doesn't get other people participating in the program, like the banks and all the others, it will have very difficult challenges? Absolutely true. We have told everybody that individuals are not required in this mix because what government needs, according to its own estimation, is 80%. Individuals are just about 10%. So you still have a 90% pool to work from. The truth is that government does not even need 80%. Because if government takes responsibility and starts leading the way, taking the right sacrifices, the right sense of responsibility, by adjusting its expenditure, adjusting its fiscal space, its revenue operations, and start being responsible on that front, you even be trusting this amount of burden on the major institutions that we have. When you talk about contribution and people are sacrificing for others to have a right, John Kumah is sitting there, ask him, who is having the biggest right right now? Tell us what government has announced as this major structure to change its way of life. You haven't announced one thing, and I saw it very unfortunate yesterday when I saw the press release. Government had a brilliant opportunity to let people know that I was leading the way. No announcement of any major fiscal readjustment. You have three things to do. You choose to go for the one that involves everybody else but you. You are supposed to have fiscal readjustment. You are supposed to have structural reforms. And you're also supposed to have debt operations. You are spending the whole energy only on debt operations. You want everybody else to suffer but you. How responsible is that? When times were difficult for me, for my family, I saw my dad drop us in school, park his car, and walk so that he can have enough petrol to come back and pick the car and drop us. That's what responsible parents do. Because we're kids. We lived in places where transportation was not available. So he needed to drive, but he didn't have money. You play responsible. How is government's conduct today responsible? Then you turn around, come to self-fear. I can't tolerate it. I won't. It is not true. You actually have these bonds, which are going to be few. It talks about you have very few bonds. The holdings of individuals are 15.5 billion. Since when did 15.5 billion become a small piece of pie? Since when? Look at the whole schedule of eligible bonds. There are bonds as little as 79,000, 79 million, 800 million, which were still being traded before this debt operation was announced. How would that compare to 15 billion? Let's stop miseducating people. Clearly, when you go on the market, any investor is looking for a return. You want to optimize your return. So you look for the ones that give you the highest yield for a given risk class. As long as government remains the issuer of that particular paper, the risk on every paper will be one and same. The matter will be the returns. The matter will be the returns. Where do you have the best returns? On the old bonds. So the old bonds, like I told you yesterday, will become the Miss Ghana in town. The one woman everybody is looking for to marry, not to have as a side chick. Anybody holding those old bonds will be in a superior place. Now, let's even go beyond that, because even this, I'm even speaking as DOG papers. You take ESLA, which has a more assured source of supply of funds to actually retire the bonds. Anybody you ask in town today will tell you, I will trust ESLA over our trust central government, who I can't even see where the money will come from. I don't have a problem. Look, government has a structure that can communicate to encourage people, individuals to actually join. They should stop selling fear and look at the techniques. If they don't know, ask. We will advise. There are all kinds of nice ways to package this communication. But to try and bully people into suppression, into submission, it's immoral. And we don't expect that of our leaders. So please, anybody in the studio, John, stop it. That's not who you are. I've known you for years. You are not that type.
Senor, let me just ask you this. I mean, the point that the Deputy Finance Minister is making is that others have to sacrifice in order for them to be able to honor the bonds of those who opt out. So he is saying that the honoring of the bonds of those who opt out is based on the sacrifice of those who opt in. Is that not accurate?
That is fair, not absolute. But remember that everybody who is now being muscled into opting in are given certain cushioning or safety net. Their provisions, their regulators are giving them. What cushion are we giving individuals? Involving individuals is economically not prudent, socially unwise, politically, I can't even make sense out of it. So now you look at it, one after the other. All these people live in banks. They live in a structure where the Bank of Ghana can intervene, provide them liquidity at any kind of point in time, so that their businesses stay afloat and they can recover. Individuals don't have it. Now, when you do that, you destroy the confidence of individuals in our economy. Then the next thing you ask yourself, who are individuals and what critical role do they play? They are the primary providers of loanable funds in an economy. So when you do this, you crush their confidence and you must not kiss your economy goodbye, because everybody will run away from the financial structures.
Right.
Where lies the hope for a recovery? You will be cutting your nose to spite your face. I've told the ministry, I own businesses. I'm a major investor in one of the banks. And we know that we are taking a hit. I'm an unemployed graduate. These are the ways that I'm making my money. But I understand, and I've accepted to actually sacrifice my quota to the country in that particular life. Right. But when you touch individuals, you're not asking them for sacrifice. You're actually asking them to inspire the collapse of our economy. That's why you don't touch them. But that aside, look at the taxes and the fiscal things that were initially brought. We've increased PAYE. We have increased VAT. Who is going to be paying? Is it not these same individuals? We are bringing in property taxes. If these people represent a good part of our middle class, even though you have all people across the stratosphere, being a part, who are going to be paying these property taxes? Think about it. The individuals have already sacrificed and they continue to sacrifice. It is their taxes that have been misused. These are taxes that have been abused. And today we are suffering because as leaders or policy leaders, we have been suboptimal in our dealings. Don't cut your nose to spite your face and don't throw insults or fear at anybody. It is wrong. And we must all stand against that. The international text tells us that we must resist oppressors rule. And this I will resist with the prayer of my life. Somebody should stop that thing. Speak the truth. This is going to be the best paper. The only problem you have with this paper being there with the new bonds is that it's going to make the new bonds value crash. So ideally, you just want to have things that are similar. If you look on the list of eligible bonds, we have what over 60 or so papers that we have listed. Now you're reducing all this to just 12 benchmark bonds. If you're reducing this to 12 benchmark bonds, tell me, how is that really rechanging or rescoping the space? A market that was very active, having so many bonds in the beginning. In fact, just a second, let me just give you the list so that you have 67 bonds are being submitted to this process. And they are not the only bonds or financial instruments from government. There are others that are still there that are not passed. Are you telling me that they won't be traded? It's not factored in any science. It's not factored in any economics. It's not factored in anything. Everybody, the minister has been clear. John Kumah has confirmed it today that you can keep what you have. You can keep what you have. You honor it. And he's going to honor it because there's less pressure on the state. The banks have taken the hit. The insurance companies have taken the hit. But you as an individual, you've also taken a hit by subjecting yourself to the new tax regimes that are not in your interest.
Right.
The Ghanaian is working there. It's a cutted human being. You have increased taxes. You have cut his income. You have social pressures in town. Everybody has to now support families because people are unemployed. Our economy has not been structured to make people get the right sustainable employment apart from political employment.
Senor,
so everybody's selling Momo here. You are cutting there. You are cutting them and cutting their disposable income.
Forgive me, Senor, because I know that once you hear from the minister, Deputy Minister, you will want to respond again. So please, if you don't mind, let's hear from everyone. Angel Carbono is also on the line. He's president of NAGRAT. He belongs to a group that has currently been exempted but being engaged by government.
They were never exempted.
Okay. If you want to clarify.
Look at the exchange memo. The exchange memo never stated that they were what do you call it? They were ineligible.
Right.
They have a side memorandum, but it's the exchange memorandum that you really look at. That is the reason why government is still having a conversation with them.
Okay, then. All right.
And it's not out of place for government to do it.
So, Angel...
But one last note. If government wants guidance on what to see, you can come and ask. We'll show you how to manage this.
All right. So, Angel, I suppose that is the area that needs clarification. Because until this point, there are many of your members who thought that they don't have to worry about domestic debt exchange anymore because they were not part of it. Is that your understanding?
I don't want to believe that we have con men in government. I don't want to believe that. The memorandum of understanding was clear.
Your call has been put on hold. Please wait to be reconnected or hang up and call back.
Angel, please bear with me. Please bear with me. We have to segregate Senyor's line and hear you clearer. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Please continue.
The understanding was that pension funds are totally exempt from the debt exchange program. And that is what stopped the general strike that Labour was supposed to start in December. If somebody is telling me today that is not what it is, this morning at 10 o'clock, Labour is reconvening at the TUC, and we will have to advise ourselves.
But
because the communication that we had, that went to our members nationwide, was that pension funds are totally exempt. And our understanding of any investment that is directed towards pension is part of the agreement that we had. So if the deputy minister is saying something otherwise, then we will have to advise ourselves.
So, Mr.
But let
Carbonu,
me
are you saying
come
that?
again.
So, are you saying that your understanding as a group was that engagements were over, the matter was concluded, there was no further engagement?
Engagements are over, and he made a statement that we have agreed to go with the new guidelines. That is untrue.
Yeah, let me talk.
Because the moment we agreed to go with the new guidelines, it obviates the arrangement that we had with government in 2022.
Right.
But Raymond,
go ahead,
let me
please.
just ask a question. And Senor Hosi alluded to one fact. We are not seeing any major structural change in government as we speak, as demanded by labor. Yesterday, I listened to one of their own on multimedia station at Sempa, who asked the question, and I'm talking about Kwabena Japan, a presidential aspirant, who asked the question, why is the Ministry of Force separated from Ministry of Education? That is just one of the numerous questions that ought to be answered. You are not taking any structural change in governance. We have a lot of people walking about in the ministries calling themselves consultants, calling themselves special assistants. They are still walking about. Then you target people who have prepared themselves to go on pension and live creditably and well, regardless of the economic situation we find ourselves. Who ought to take the blame in the first place? Am I the one who went on to take to the capital market to take money as loans? Please, stop making the people of this country, the workers of this country, suffer. We don't have any other agreement with government other than the agreement that our pension funds are exempt. And we will take nothing less than that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think it's time for us to hear responses from the Deputy Finance Minister. Well, some very strong accusations here. Yes. Angel Carbonu says he doesn't want to believe that there are con men in government. And Senyor Hosi says that what you're saying is inaccurate and close to dishonest.
Sometimes it becomes very difficult to engage in public discussions on emotional topics like the debt exchange program. But I'm particularly disappointed at my brother, Senyor Hosi. Senyor and I comes way back from University of Ghana. We've been friends and student politicians. I didn't expect this kind of contribution from him. For him to attack me and call me dishonest and
well, he said borderline, close
and
to
miseducating the public. When eventually he ended up saying that when you put the question to him, what have I said? He said yes, he agrees. I have confirmed what the minister has said. It's very, very unfortunate for him to come being emotional and talking politics rather than the issues we are discussing. When he gave his background on the capital bond market, I expected him to give a technical contribution, not a political contribution. I am a politician and I can go very political, but that's not the reason we are here. We are trying to encourage people to understand what is going on and what is best for everybody. If you are saying people should drink wine and sleep, and that's your advice, fair, that is fair. But we are also explaining the implications, and government has made it clear. We are not lying about it. We are saying that if you want to exempt or stay out, you have the choice to do so. But it has consequences. I was only seeking to explain that if you stay out, you may lose up to, and this is mark-to-market values. I cannot say it's 100%, but it can be up to 90% because there will be no market for it, which is what I have sought to explain to individual bondholders. And but please, I'm not bullying anybody.
I hope you
he knows me better than that.
Disputing.
Yes, he's disputing. But I thought he could have no market. And that's what I expected, his technical explanation.
So let's do this quickly.
But for him to be calling names.
Dr. Kumah, to do this quickly, you know, for instance, that whatever happens within a market, if individual bondholders have bonds amounting to 15 billion and they decide to trade that bond with coupon rates as much as over 20% with certainty of payment, that will be a much sought after bonds than one with 10%
And I am saying no, because the factors will change once we transition to the new market. But you see, we may disagree.
And you've not told us what that factors
I have.
will be.
I have told you that if you are moving about 90% of the market to the new market, you are going to affect the value of the old ones.
How
and that
is
is
our
what
question.
how
How?
has been explained. I'm saying
No,
that
it still amounts to, at the end of it all, the returns I expect to get from this,
Yes.
and the returns I expect to get from that.
These are all
mark to market, fine. Mark to market dependent on how the economy is going, and mark to market can affect all. In the meantime, this will be subject to negotiations, and whoever is getting in there to negotiate based on the demand for these bonds also could indicate how much he wants to sell it.
That is it. And these are technical projections that if you put two people in a room, everybody could have a different conclusion. So you can say you disagree with me. But to say I'm dishonest because I'm telling you what it is.
One may be more like it than the other.
Well, in my estimation and from the work the technical team have done at the ministry, this is what we think will happen. If your calculation turns out to be otherwise, I don't see the bullying in that. And in any case, we've given you the option. So where is the dishonesty and the bullying that Senor is talking about? So I don't want to go into it and to get emotional. At the end of the day, government intends to work with everybody and will take things up our sleeves. On the issue of the pen, no, I'm talking about Angel. Well, Angel, I've been part of the process when the unions rose up in disagreement with government. It resulted in a committee being set up, which I've sat through meetings of that committee. I'm not sure we have concluded discussions yet. And that has been my position this morning. I haven't said anything different. In fact, when you even asked me the outcome, I said, I don't know. We have to conclude with the committee before I could speak to it. I don't know how that results in rallying people into meetings and stuff like that. I have only stated what I know.
But you heard him say that as far as he's concerned,
that's his concern. I'm saying that as far as I am concerned, from the point of view of government, we only came to a point of, let's set a committee to engage because you don't agree with what is announced. And that committee has been working. I don't know the outcomes of the decisions yet. That has been my position this morning.
But you exempted
I don't want to
them.
go. Well, we exempted them as announced in that program, but resulted in a committee where we now have to work out something that is acceptable to all parties. That committee's work is still ongoing, and I haven't said anything different from what I know.
And this is all necessary in spite of the fact that you've already signed 80 to 90.
No, it's all be part. I'm saying that when we have all this put together, that's when we are going to have that 80 to 90%. So it even includes the individual bondholders.
So currently, what do we have?
Confirmed.
I can't give confirmations because we haven't finally, because even the banks and the insurance, they're all having to go through processes to finally come on. I don't want to speak to what I don't know.
All right. We're talking to Dr. John Kumah, Deputy Finance Minister. We're getting clarity. Well, we're aiming for clarity on issues of domestic debt exchange following their statement yesterday saying that individual bondholders need not opt in. But it appears that there are consequences either way. Look, the matter is getting heated. The pressure is getting worse, right? As someone would say. But look, it's only because this is money. We're talking about money. We're talking about people's money, people's nest eggs. They've worked hard. They've saved. They've sought to invest. And now their investment is under question. And that is the question we're seeking to answer with our guest, Dr. John Kumah, the Deputy Finance Minister, as well as Senyo Hosi, who's a convener of the Individual Bondholders Forum, and Angel Carbonu, who represents NAGRAT, of course, speaking for Labour, if you will, as we seek answers to all of these outstanding questions. We will clarify matters before we leave. We've got a little time to do it, so let's get straight to it. So just before the break, John Kumah responded to Angel Carbonu's claim that as far as Labour is concerned, the matter was concluded. They are exempt, and that is it.
Finality.
There is no further engagement. Winston, you have the letter that was issued by government on the event of exempting labor and other corporate bond holding groups. What did the letter say?
Exactly. So this is dated 22nd December 2022. It was on a Thursday.
Right.
Memorandum of Understanding. Following meetings held at the Ministry of Finance in December 2022 between the Government of Ghana, represented by the Ministry of Employment and Labour Relations, Ministry of Finance, and the Ministry of National Security on the one hand, and organised labour associations represented by leadership of all labour unions or associations on the other hand, to resolve issues on the exemption of all pensions funds in the domestic debt exchange program announced by the government on the 5th of December 2022, government has decided to grant exemption to all pension funds in the domestic debt exchange program. And 2, government of Ghana and organized labor and associations shall, however, work together to explore mutually beneficial options within debt sustainability limits and to also promote macroeconomic stability and economic recovery in the spirit of social partnerships.
Now, that's exactly what I've said.
Now, hold on. The first point is very categorical. It says government has decided to grant exemption to all pension funds
in the domestic debt exchange program.
However, government and organized labor will work together to explore mutually beneficial options within debt sustainability limits and to also promote macroeconomic stability and economic recovery in the spirit of social partnership. But if you read the amended exchange program, also on the 24th, government invites all eligible bondholders. All eligible bondholders.
I told you I've been part of meetings of the committee that was set up on the second point, and I don't want to go on conclusions on that matter. And I just want to assure Angel that there's no need to be hyper about this. We are both jointly talking and discussing. At the end of the day, we will come to a conclusion that will be satisfactory to both sides. So I haven't said anything differently from what has been put out there. And I don't even know the details of the conclusions.
Well, John,
so let's wait on that one.
But John, it's important at this point.
Yes.
Because concerns have been raised. And while we're on a break, a lot of my friends within the Labour front have been calling me.
Okay.
They say they did not form any committee to do anything. What they know is that they've been exempted. So let's get it. Yes, what they know is that.
So what about the second point?
Yeah, the second point is that you're going to find out ways.
Okay, that's all I'm talking about.
Yeah, so those ways that you're going to find.
As for the exemption we have on the
yes,
those
ways that you're going to find.
Yes,
that's what is of importance here.
That one I can't speak to it.
You can't speak to
unless
it unless
we all finish.
Now that okay, so let me just do this.
Okay.
And here, let me do this because in this statement, when you said we're going to find ways. I knew at the time government was negotiating with organized labor for, on salary increases.
No.
I'm coming. Okay. I'm trying to understand. The moment you finished with this, you roped in the individual bondholders, whom you had earlier exempted.
Yes.
Now you've issued a letter, making it very categorical. You are free not to participate, but you say you are going to engage organized labor. Any person within that front will be concerned that just as individual bondholders were roped in, they could also be roped in. You're saying they are not going to be.
You see, they
will not be part of it.
I'm not saying that. You see, I beg you, quote what I've said.
Okay.
I said that we agreed to exempt them from the initial announcement we did. However, we agreed to work together, and a committee was formed. I've sat in meetings with them. I won't speak to any decisions yet because me myself, I don't know. The assurance I want to give to unions and everybody is that we are talking. At the end of the day, just like all the other stakeholders, we came to conclusions and announced. I strongly believe whatever engagements that we are talking will result in a certain announcement which will be acceptable. That's all I want to say to that.
Okay. My question is actually about the first point.
Okay, the first point.
Which was government has decided to grant exemption to all pension funds in the domestic debt exchange program.
Yes, but that point is not idle. You have to link it to the second point to have a full meaning of it.
Yes, indeed. So I want to go step by step.
Okay.
So when you say that you have granted exemption to all pension funds in the domestic debt exchange program,
Yeah.
and you now say you are still engaging them, are you engaging them to for a different program?
So now you want to speak to the outcome when I don't know.
It's
beg
just
you.
that if you have exempted
no, you're
them,
just asking the same thing differently.
no, forgive me.
Let's respect
forgive me. There is a need for some clarity here,
agreement between the two
Dr. Kumah.
parties.
Please bear with me.
Okay.
There is a need for some clarity here, because if you have exempted them from the domestic debt exchange
Yes.
program,
They could be exempted fully, as you are saying.
no, you say you've exempted them from it.
Okay.
That's your own. This is your own memorandum.
Yes, we have.
You have exempted them from the
Yes.
domestic debt exchange program. So if you are engaging them, that means you are engaging them in a new program, does it not?
Obviously.
Okay.
An outcome will come from that meeting. and
But
that
it will not be
constitute
the
a-
domestic debt exchange
as
program.
announced. You see, whatever engagement will form part of the entire program.
The as announced,
But-
Nadia, you are adding it to because it wasn't here.
Well, but that is what, if you read the whole thing together, it means. It means that government has agreed to exempt them from the program. But it means. But the second point is that we must still find solution. You see, let's not see government as a unique entity fighting its cause. Government is seeking to build a system that benefits everybody. So how do we collectively resolve the challenges? And that's all that we are trying to do. So if we say A and you disagree with A and you prefer B, we say let's talk. How do we reach that B? We are not here to, like the terms they are using, con men in government and that kind of very harsh language on us. It is not fair. We are saying that what can we do together to achieve the needed target that we have all set for ourselves as a country? And let's work together. In the process, we may disagree, but please, let's not be too harsh in our choice of words and in our engagement. Let's allow that cordiality and the purpose of the objective to.
So to clarify, you are engaging labor, but not on a domestic debt exchange program.
Please, that one, I can't say further than what I've said.
All right. Let's deal with what everybody raised in their responses, Senior
Okay.
Hosea and Angel Carbon.
Yeah.
What is government willing to sacrifice? You've made an important point just now
Yeah.
that government is not an entity seeking its own interests.
Yes.
All right. So in order to make your stakeholders believe that, what do you have to show that you are also taking a haircut?
Yes, and that's a very, very important question which government respects so much. All the concerns we have heard beyond what government provided in the 2023 budget. And in the 2023 budget, government announced a lot of expenditure cuts. But beyond all that, people still want to see numbers. All the expenditure cuts that we have put together. How much is it costing government? And we are working to put the number out there for people to understand and appreciate.
As in the 2022 expenditure?
2023 budget that we did, because people want to see what is government giving up for.
You're going to cut the budget further?
That's the demand of people.
Yes.
And I'm saying that we announced a number of expenditure measures in the budget 2023. But what maybe we didn't put out clearly was the figure. Or the values of all that you are cutting. What is the impact? So people want to hear.
But did you not work that out?
We have.
We
have. I mean, I just said that even Appendix 10C alone, for projects alone, we saved about 2 billion. Government had to save about 2 billion in the trend, but dollars. But beyond that, now we are having a lot of impact on ongoing projects and so many other things that we may have to put a stop because of the debt exchange program. We will very soon make an announcement, and we have heard a number of suggestions from Labour, from the individual bondholders forum. They gave a plethora of areas that they think government can cut. All these things must form part of our fiscal policy. So maybe in the mid-year budget or maybe at cabinet review or something, government will have to make a statement to that. But as I sit here, since these are fiscal policies, you can't just sit on radio and announce them. It has to go through a number of stages to get done, and government have our eyes on that.
In 2022, you announced a 30%
30%
expenditure cut.
Yes.
How much did we save?
We actually saved in many places beyond the 30%. However, towards the end of 2022, we had a problem with our exchange rate movement, and that affected the debt repayment component and almost virtually wiped away all the savings. But beyond the interest payment, which bloated because of the exchange rate, every item line there were savings of more than 30%.
By July
including
2022, when you were presenting the mid-year budget review, and you had made these announcements in 2020, in January 2022, you had just indicated a reduction in total expenditure by 2 billion from the 137 billion to 135 billion.
No, I'm talking about...
I'm just making a point that in July, because you had announced that...
So there was a savings.
Hold on. So 30% savings. What you announced in July, because I'm waiting for the total expenditure in 2022.
Yeah, it will come.
It hasn't come yet. So
but
what I know is, the reference, I'm making reference to the mid-year budget review.
No, there's been November budget
I know,
presented.
but
So
I'm
there's an improved figures.
You told us that you were going to reduce the total expenditure by 2 billion from the 137 billion to 135 billion.
No, that was in respect of discretionary expenditures. You see, there's so much rigidity in our
By
budget.
discretionary expenditures, for instance, you had a capital expenditure of about 16 billion in 2022. That alone,
which was hugely reduced.
A 30% reduction of that alone is more than the 2 billion.
No, but we hugely reduced
but that's
that
more than
in the
2 billion.
budget.
Goods and services, so discretionary.
Have you checked the November budget?
I have.
If you check, you will make these points. And I'm saying that we did cut even beyond the 30% on all those lines. Even compensation was reduced, goods and services was reduced. It was only the interest payments component that, unfortunately, because we had exchange rate losses, we had to pay more. But on the whole, we stuck to that objective.
So you don't have
a
a CD figure of how much?
At the moment, I don't have it.
All right. Any talks in government of reducing the size?
Well, these are matters, like I said, policy level that has to go through cabinet. And
so you are having that conversation?
Yes, government is having that conversation.
About reducing the size?
Yes, government, about general expenditure cuts, of course, which also must reflect in a lot of...
Specifically?
We have actually even announced this year of no further public recruitments and all that. So government is committed to cutting expenditures.
All right. Listen, let's open the phone lines. We've got a short while to go. I'd love to hear from you, as this conversation is in your name. So please call us 0302 216 541 and 055 1111 997. Deputy Finance Minister John Kumah is here. If you have questions for him, please bring them out. We'd love to get him to respond to them. Or if you have your own contributions you want to make to the conversation, now is the time. 0302 216 541 and 055 1111 997. We can start at Tantra Hill with Justice. Justice, good morning.
Hello.
Yes, Justice, we can hear you.
Good morning, Kojo.
Good morning to you,
Winston, the whole team, and Honorable Dr. John Kumah.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Let me make this quick. Sadly, I think that what we have here is a situation where there is simply a breakdown of trust in our entire system. This conversation about this bond issue and all that has been going on for a number of weeks now. But people still find it necessary to keep asking the same questions over and over and over again.
Yeah.
There's a breakdown of trust in the whole system. And for me, that is my biggest concern. Mm-hmm. Because we would have to continue investing. I mean, where are you going to put your money?
Yeah.
Where are you going to put your money? You have to find somewhere to put the money. Yeah. And for those of us who don't want to change currency into dollars and all those things, we still believe that we have to invest in this country. So if trust is not restored in the system, it will be difficult. Number two, The second thing is that communication about this whole thing must be clearer. Throughout this whole process, if government, for example, has said for starters, look, this is what we are doing to contribute to this thing. I don't think a lot of people would be so upset, and because what I'm thinking is, you want me to have a haircut. Well, in some cases, it looks like a haircut, but I don't see what you are contributing. I don't see the nature of or the type of haircut you are giving yourself. So, as much as possible, the communication should try to restore trust in the system. That's what the technical details and all those things. That's fine.
Hello, Justice. I think we've lost Justice there. But we've got your points. 2 points you made there. We'll get responses from the Minister. Let's take some more calls. 0302 216 541 055 1111 997. Noel is in Dansuman. Hi, Noel. Good morning. Hello. Do we have Noel?
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning, Noel.
How are you doing?
Very well, thanks. What's on your mind?
Mr. Kumah, how are you doing? I want to, you asked me a question. I was distracted, so I couldn't hear the answer. You asked me what the government is also doing, contributing to the whole thing. Yeah, I didn't hear the answer he gave. So if you can, please do that. Honorable, God bless you.
Thank you.
We'll get you a response. Let's stay in Dansuman. Eric is on the line. Hi, Eric. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you, Kojo?
Not bad, bro.
Okay, so the minister has made it clear that for those who hold on to the old bonds, their principals will be paid on maturity. However, from what he's been saying, I'm not certain whether their coupons will also be paid as and when they fall due. That's the time in between now and maturity. Are their coupons going to be paid as and when they fall due? That's my question.
Okay. Let's get a couple more calls in and then we'll get answers. Nee's at Asylum Down. Hi, Nee. Good morning.
How are you?
Not bad, my brother.
Okay, all right. So all this debt restructuring that we are talking about, I think that is not the conversation we should be having. The conversation we should be having, and Joe FM, you should be serious about this, is how did we get here? Will we ever get here again? And when we do get here again, what punitive sanctions is going to be given to the one who drives us there? That is the conversation we should be having. Because, look, we are running around in circles. They'll do it again. They will do it again. We need to have a solution where, okay, how did we get here? Who got us here? What is his punishment? How are we punishing that person? Are we just talking about it and then just letting it go? No, it's not fair. It is just not fair. How this Akufo-Addo-led government has disappointed all the people that supported him for the past 12 years, and today he is president, and look at what he's doing.
Okay.
God forgive them all.
Thank you, Nee. Thank you very much. Let's talk to Kofi in Mamfe. Hi, Kofi. Good morning. What's it like in Mamfe this morning?
Yeah. I heard the deputy minister, when he was asked what is government doing about cutting down or giving themselves haircuts, the response he gave was not too happy, because Ghanaians are expecting them to downsize their government based on what they are having already, the sizes that they are having already. Presidential transfers or whatever, ministers. But what he said was like, what we are, it's like in the future, we are not engaging people. We are not saying we engage people. We said downsize what we are having already. And more so, if we put free on public sector employment. Only last week or 2 weeks ago, we heard they've employed somebody in the ADB. They speak with one side of their mouth and do different things. This is angering everybody in the country. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's take maybe one more call. Nana Odame is in Adabraka. Hi, Nana. Good morning.
Oh, good morning, the morning man.
How are you, Nana?
I am just doing fantastic, but the haircut is cutting through our pocket, so we are not feeling good.
Kafra.
Anyway, my greetings to the Honorable.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, this morning I have some two solutions to progress, and I don't know whether the government has considered. You know, as it stands now, we are in crisis. I want to find out from the minister, have they considered taking windfall taxes? You know, when we are in crisis like that as a country, and then coming out from the COVID, you look at for some companies who previously they made excessive profit, and then as a government you charge them windfall taxes, i.e. the oil industry, the mining companies, the banks, and other multinationals, including the telcos. So the government should reconsider that side so that they save us the individuals the stress. Two, I also want to find out what is the Minister of Finance and their team doing by considering renegotiating a lot of the mining contracts and multinational contracts within, especially within the mining, Anglo Gold and other stuff. Renegotiate, because as a country that we are in crisis, they need to consider that. And then my last question is, three, why is it that as of now, when you read the 2022-2023 budget, you can see clearly that the budget is not corresponding as a country who is in crisis. The expenditure and the capital expenditure in the budget indicates that the government is not ready to cut down, and they are expecting we, the citizens, who are already spending through e-levy, spending through this inflation, and aside that, spending because of the living lifestyle of the government, because we are already paying tax. When you check on your salary as per right now, we are paying huge taxes. Why is it that the government is treating us this way? And do they really think about Ghanaians? If they really want us to be part of this thing, they should let us know, because we are all Ghanaians. And I want to make it clear to the government, they are not better Ghanaians than us. So I want them to be free and open-minded with us, so that we will not be like, take it or leave it. It's you against the citizen, and we are trying to play smart. We want to use our mind on the citizen, and it doesn't work, because we are also smart like that, but it's an opportunity that we have gotten. So please, they need to come clear so that we can solve this issue together, and they should stop playing around with our intelligence. It's so annoying. Please, thank you very much.
Thank you, Nana. Is that it? Is that our last caller? Okay, good. Let's zoom in. Lots and lots of issues raised here. Yeah. Do you want me to run through a few of them quickly? Yeah.
A few maybe I can speak to, and then.
Okay, so Justice said that there's a breakdown of trust.
Yeah, very important.
Where will you put your money?
Yeah.
So he wants to know, how are you going to restore trust?
Yeah.
And how are you going to communicate clearer about what you are sacrificing?
Yes. Thank you. I mean, it sums up the entire discussion that has been ongoing. The issue of trust is very paramount, and we have to continue to talk in openness and in good faith. It appears anytime we on the side of government attempts to explain the position of government on debt exchange, we are misconstrued and we are attacked, and sometimes even coming out to explain issues become problematic. So let's restore that trust and confidence, and understand that we are partners in the resolution of this problem. What we are doing on our part, as somebody said, he didn't hear the answer. A lot is going on the side of government, and we'll continue to announce more fiscal policies in the next mid-year budget to show how much expenditures government is cutting down. On the issue of windfall taxes, yes, we introduced a number of new taxes in the 2023 budget that you can interpret as windfall, targeting the extractive mining and the oil companies who will be paying a certain percentage of their annual returns instead of profits.
Yeah.
So we did all that in the budget. And then also expenditure in 2023. There's a little bit confusion about the expenditure budgets in the 2023 budget. Because we didn't have the debt exchange announced before the budget, we couldn't exclude some of the expenditures we have to cut. So they are all included in the November budget. But now, for instance, debt interest payments, we projected to pay 54 billion in 2023. That will be reduced to about 16 billion cedis. So you see the margin of of savings if we are able to achieve it. So, but you have all the 54 billion reflected in the 2023 budget, so you are going to see a huge expenditure.
Right.
So people should just understand that because we didn't have the program ahead of the budget, we couldn't cut down on it. And if you can guide me on the other ones.
So Eric wanted to know, will those who opt out, will their coupons be paid?
Yes, coupons will be paid.
Okay. This one, the NI said, we should be asking the question, how did we get here? Will this ever happen again? What is the punishment for those who brought us here?
I don't know if we have time. I want to put a scenario to guide me, and sometimes when people listen to me, they say I don't talk like a finance man, but I'm not bothered about that. I want people like me to understand. Let's take it like a cocoa farm. I mean, my parents are cocoa farmers in Sankore. Every year, for 3 continuous years, the cocoa farmer borrowed money from his bank to do big farms. In the first year, he was nominated the best farmer. Second year, he borrowed again, got nominated best cocoa farmer. Third year, he borrowed again, got the best cocoa farmer award. Then on the 4th year, there was a drought. Cocoa takes maturity of 3 to 5 years before you can see productivity. On the 4th year, there was a drought, and fire burnt the cocoa farms and brought it to almost zero. Now, what will you speak of this cocoa farmer? Is he a bad cocoa farmer, or he's an unfortunate farmer who has faced a situation beyond him? This is the situation of Ghana. When we were borrowing in 2017, 3 billion, 2018, 3 billion, we were one of the fastest growing economy in the world. And when you invest in a productive economy, it takes a while for productivity to come. And when your returns, on the 4th year of your returns, COVID struck and your economy comes from 7% to 0.4, what it means is that your cocoa farm is bent. So how do you pay when the banks now come at you? Did you borrow the money to waste it, or misfortune happened? Now, this cocoa farmer says that I have to now grow the farms again. I will need time to be able to replant and I need the confidence of my bankers and everybody on board so that we can regrow, make time, and regain capacity to repay the facility. This is what Ghana is doing. So when we say, how did we get here? It is not a question of somebody borrowed money and wasted it.
But John, I mean...
Investment actually happened, and there is evidence, credible evidence, in all sectors of our economy. And if we have time, we can speak to it.
No, I mean, of course we do not have the time.
Yeah.
So, but John, this cocoa analogy, let's also be... So the cocoa farmer in borrowing, first year, second year, if the cocoa farmer is warned that based on the borrowings you have made over the period, if you're not careful and disaster strikes, you'll be found wanting. And he continues to borrow into the 3rd year, and then disaster strikes, would the cocoa farmer have been prudent?
No, the cocoa farmer was advised against mismanagement of the funds,
and
not disaster. As for disaster,
and was also
coming on.
Hold on a second, because and if the cocoa farmer was warned against mismanagement, and the cocoa farmer mismanages, and then his cocoa burns. Would you say?
If you mismanage so and the cocoa burns, but in this case, he didn't mismanage. Drought happened. COVID came.
Hold on. In our case,
yes.
In our case, we were warned about being at a high risk of death distress before COVID struck. So before COVID hit us, we had been warned that we were not on the right path.
Winston, I agree with you on that, but I'm saying that whilst people were warning you on the loans, you could see your cocoa farms growing and you build capacity to repay. I'm coming. You are not proving right. Once, if the cocoa had not bent, you will have your cocoa bags at the end of the year to pay your debt.
Your budget tells you, the 2023 budget, that talks about building, macroeconomic and a resilient economy.
Yeah.
You're telling us that for instance, that the economy you built in the past was not that resilient, and so one shock.
No,
took it away.
COVID is not one shock, please. This is a global matter. So I am just trying to talk to, what's the name of the...
NI? Yeah.
To understand the Ghana situation, that it's not something that we mismanage. It was disaster that struck, and we are working together to replant, and it shall be better.
Final thing on that, though. it was right here a couple of months ago on our show that you admitted
Yeah.
that if there's anything that government did not do well or that government could have done better, perhaps you should not have borrowed so much.
So when you ask this cocoa farmer in the 4th year or the 5th year, when his cocoa is bent and he has no productivity, it will appear that he has overborrowed.
But you didn't say it
No,
appears.
no,
you said that government should not have borrowed so much.
No. Maybe you can. But I said it could show. No, please. I remember you quoted me and gave me that headline, even though that is not what I intended. But we manage some of these downfalls all the time when we talk to you, screaming headlines. I didn't say that. I'm saying that in the midst of the difficulty, now the cocoa farmer believes that he still has capacity to replant this cocoa, okay, and build an economy that will be very beneficial to all stakeholders. So we will continue to plead with Ghanaians that we have not mismanaged the money that came. We actually built a robust economy that was one of the best in the world. And we are not talking about Africa. One of the best running economy in the world until disaster
If you
struck.
built a robust economy, one shock would not take
It's
it
not
away.
one shock. COVID even shocked America. I mean, you know, no, they are back, but we're also going back. You
not
have
back.
to go back through a process.
We're not back.
But you see, this American back you're talking about, go and talk to them. They also have their challenges. Talk to Britain, talk to France, talk to every country. Every country is going through challenges to get back. This is something beyond every country. It's not just a Ghana situation.
This is the last one. Kofi said that government announced a freeze on public sector employment, but government is not to be trusted because apparently someone at ADB recently got replaced.
Oh, no, essential recruitments will continue. We didn't say that we cannot replace lost employees. Natural attrition will be done.
All right. I've got to say a big thank you to you.
Thank you.
You spent the whole morning with us.
Yes,
Dr. John Kumah is the
for
Deputy Finance Minister.
And I just want to, before I leave, to talk to our friends who engage in these public discussions, that we understand the sensitivity of it. Sometimes maybe a word from us could mean differently, but we don't mean any harm. We also don't understand it all, and we also are happy to learn. So if they want us to do something, they should be lenient in their choice of words and how they describe us. It pushes us off from talking at all on the matter. But if we can engage calmly, we can all share more ideas.
But finally, since you talk about cocoa farm, before you I mean, somebody would say a smart cocoa farmer would know that as he borrows and expands his cocoa farm, he gets money. Because he's going to borrow the next time, he would engage in smart investments. So that when disaster strikes, he can at least look to those investments, get some money, and do some other things. He doesn't have to raise his hands in despair and say, disaster struck. And that's the end
I'm not sure he has seen a cocoa farm bend before.
The
person saying that, I'll invite him to Sankore in our farms, and then he should be there whilst it's burning. You understand how it is. But it's true.
Look,
we have to invest widely and variedly. So I agree.
But because you have to go, you had in the past talked about, and the NPP, something I want us to do another time. You had in the past talked about borrowing and investing in recurrent expenditure, and the fact that when you borrow, you engage in a lot of capital expenditure. Over the period, your capital expenditure budget has not been more than 100 billion. You've borrowed more than that too.
Oh, no. You see, there's differentiation sometimes in the capital expenditure you see in the budget from the project financing, which is also a different appendix. So when you add that, you're going to see huge numbers. In fact, all the interchanges and water extensions and electricity, most of it don't even come in the expenditure item that you're talking about. You see it in the project financing side. And by the time you add that appendix 10C, you are into billions of dollars.
If we had time, I was just going to go. Well, Sanjay tells me our time is up.
We'll
do this again.
Yes, thank you.
We've got to do it again.
Thank you.
In the meantime, thank you so much.
I'm grateful for your cordiality this morning. And I hope I won't get a screaming headline this morning.
There will be headlines.
There will be some,
yes. Deputy Finance Minister Dr. John Kumah.